Some Caribbean surnames are not what they look like. Cudjoe, Cuffee, Quashie, Quamina. Each one looks like a random old-fashioned name. It isn't. Each one is a word for a day of the week, in a language spoken on the Gold Coast of West Africa over 300 years ago by the people history called the Coromantee. Those names are still sitting on birth certificates, gravestones, and family trees across Jamaica and the diaspora right now. And most families carrying them have no idea what they're actually holding. These are the surviving Akan day names hiding in Caribbean surnames, counting down to the one carried by the most legendary figure in Jamaican history, a name still spoken as a place you can visit today. If names like this are new to you, subscribe now, because by the end of this list, you might be looking at your own family tree differently. Quick context before we start. Among the Akan people of what is now Ghana, there's a tradition going back centuries. A child is given a name based on the day of the week they were born. A boy born on Friday is Kofi. A girl born on Friday is Afua. Every day has a male and female version. During the 18th and 19th centuries, enslaved Akan-speaking people brought to the Caribbean, referred to at the time as Coromantee, carried this naming tradition with them, whether their enslavers understood it or not. Plantation records from Jamaica are full of these names, misspelled, anglicized, but unmistakably present. Some of these names quietly became English words. Some became insults. Some became the names of national heroes. Let's count them down. Number 8, Quashie, Quasi, Sunday. Quashie comes from Quasi, the Akan day name for a boy born on Sunday. In 18th century Jamaican plantation records, it's one of the most common names you'll find. Here's the part that matters, and honesty matters more than a good story. Over time in Jamaica, Quashie didn't stay a person's name. It drifted into everyday language as a generic, often mocking term for an unsophisticated country person, used the way some cultures use yokel or hick, a real man's real name, worn down over 2 centuries into a stereotype. That's not a happy ending, but it's the honest one. And it's exactly the kind of thing that happens to names when the people carrying them aren't the ones controlling the story. Number 7, Sambo, second son, day name tradition. This next one is heavier and it needs care. Historical slave records across the Caribbean and American South list Sambo as a common given name in the 18th century, tracing back to naming traditions in parts of West Africa, where a similar-sounding word marked a second son. What happened to that name afterward is one of the ugliest transformations on this list. By the 19th and 20th centuries, Sambo had been stripped of its original meaning entirely and turned into one of the most damaging racial caricatures in American history. A name weaponized against the very people who once carried it with no shame at all. We're including it not to reclaim it, but because leaving it out would mean pretending the ugliest part of this history didn't happen. A real name, a real origin, and a real, deliberate distortion. Not every name on this list carries that weight. Some of them turned into something completely different. A dance still performed today, a first name still given to babies, and one that quietly built the first black-owned shipping fleet in American history. Let's keep going. Number 6, Fiba, Phoebe, Afua, Friday, female. Fiba is the female day name for Friday. You'll find it constantly in Caribbean plantation ledgers. Over generations, as families spoke English day to day and needed something that sounded proper to colonial ears, Fiba slowly reshaped itself into a name that already existed in the English-speaking world. Phoebe. Same rhythm, same sound, completely different origin story hiding underneath. If Phoebe is in your family tree going back to the islands, there's a real chance you're not looking at a Greek name. You're looking at Afua, wearing a disguise that's lasted 200 years. Number 5. Juba, Adwoa, Monday, female. Juba is the female day name tradition tied to Monday. And unlike most names on this list, Juba didn't just survive as a name, it survived as a whole art form. Pattern Juba, a rhythmic hand-clapping and body percussion dance developed by enslaved communities, takes its name directly from this tradition. When enslavers banned drums, fearing they'd be used to communicate, the body itself became the instrument, and it carried an African name into that resistance. Juba the name and Juba the dance are the same word, separated by an ocean and 2 centuries. And most people who've heard of the dance have never heard the story behind its name. Number 4. Cuffee, Kofi, Friday, male. Cuffee is the male day name for Friday, and it belongs to one of the most remarkable real people on this entire list. Paul Cuffee was born in 1759 off the coast of Massachusetts, one of 10 children. His father had been enslaved and carried the day name Cuffy as his own surname after gaining freedom. Paul and his siblings kept it. Paul Cuffee went on to become a ship captain and one of the wealthiest black men in early America, building his own shipping business and later petitioning the government for black civil rights. One of the earliest such petitions in U.S. history. A single word for born on Friday, carried across an ocean, became the surname of a man who helped shape the earliest fight for black civil rights in America. If your family carries Cuffy, Cuffy, or Cuff, that's the line you're standing at the end of. We're 3 away from the biggest name on this list, and it belongs to someone most Jamaicans learn about in school without ever being told what the name actually means. If your family carries any name on this list, drop it in the comments, along with where your people are from. This series is built directly from what you tell us. Number 3. Quamina, Kwame, Saturday, male. Quamina is the day name for a boy born on Saturday, and one man carrying it changed the direction of the entire British abolition movement. In 1823, an enslaved man named Quamina helped lead the Demerara Rebellion in what is now Guyana, one of the largest uprisings against slavery in the history of the British Caribbean. Word of the rebellion's brutal suppression reached Britain and shocked the public, becoming one of the key pressure points that accelerated the passage of the Slavery Abolition Act just a decade later. A day of the week name, a led uprising, a measurable push toward the end of legal slavery in the British Empire. That's what's sitting inside the surname Quamina. Number 2. Nanny, Nana, honorific, not a day name. This one breaks the pattern on purpose, because it's not a day name at all, and that distinction matters. Nanny of the Maroons is the only woman among Jamaica's national heroes, a spiritual and military leader of the Windward Maroons in the early 18th century, credited with helping lead sustained guerrilla resistance against British forces for years. Some historians and linguists have proposed a connection between her name and the Akan honorific Nana, a title of deep respect given to rulers, elders, and ancestors. That link isn't fully settled the way the day names are. This is a proposed connection, not a proven one. But whether it's a direct borrowing or a striking coincidence, the respect embedded in that name matches exactly who she was. And now, number 1, the most famous name on this entire list, and the only one that's also the name of a real place you can travel to today. So, number 1, Cudjoe, Kojo, Monday, male. Cudjoe is the male day name for Monday, and Captain Cudjoe is, by most historical accounts, the single most significant Maroon leader in Jamaican history. Cudjoe led the Leeward Maroons, communities of self-liberated Africans living free in Jamaica's interior mountains, through years of guerrilla warfare against the British colonial army. In 1739, after years of conflict, the British could not win. Cudjoe forced them into a peace treaty that recognized Maroon land and freedom. That land still exists. It's called a compound town in the parish of St. Elizabeth, and Maroon descendants live there today. Governing under terms that trace directly back to the treaty Cudjoe negotiated nearly 300 years ago. A single word meaning "born on Monday" became the name of the man who won freedom for an entire people, on land they still hold. If your family carries the name Cudjoe, Cudjoe, or Kojo, that word has been surviving in your bloodline since before the United States existed. 8 names. A word that became a mocking stereotype. A word twisted into a slur. A word that became a dance. A word that built a shipping fleet. A word that helped end an empire's slave trade. A word that might be a title for a national hero. And a word that still governs land today. None of these people knew they were leaving a name behind for you to find centuries later. They were just being born, on whatever day they happened to be born. If any of these names are sitting in your family tree, comment below your surname and where your family is from. This series is built directly out of that comment section. And if today's list connected with you, subscribe, because the next one goes even deeper into what plantation records reveal about specific family lines.